I'm at the point in my custom keyboard journey where a board has to do something really unique to get my attention. The Class 80 from Studios definitely qualifies. It has a buzzer and a solenoid, an indicator LED panel, a pin rail, a nod to a Famicom controller, and it tips the scales at a whopping 3.5 kilos or 7.7 pounds unbuilt. This is a big aluminum slab of retro goodness. It comes in 3 colors, retro E-red, anno black, and the one to get for me, the retro E-white, which is beige. So much beige. I love it. This is a group buy, but it only has a 3 to 4 month lead time for fulfillment. It's gonna run from September 25th to October 25th. Pricing is $345 for wired to $375 for Bluetooth, and there's a ton of options here. If that price or the wait time is enough to scare you away, we'll also look at a little in-stock pre-built board that has the same vibe, comes in right around $120, and it has Bluetooth. So we've got the WKL or wind keyless version here today. So we've got these big blockers on the lower row, also got a nice slope on the front edge, which gives this some character, and the side profile is pretty plain with a 7-degree typing angle. This is a hefty boy thanks to the massive brass weight and a design that spans essentially the entire bottom of the case. Mine came with the wired hot swap PCB, polycarb plate, and a full FR plate, but they also have half plate and brass options. We've got 2 different mounting options here. We can go plateless using the gaskets on just the S-curve tabs on the PCB itself, or we can do a top mount. We also get a full complement of foam, including a block of EVA foam to fill this little area where the battery would go in the Bluetooth version, plus lowercase foam, PCB foam, 2 thicknesses of plate foam, and a PE sheet. There's no stabilizers included with the kit, so I'm going to use some Stabies today. I would have gone black on these, but I'm all out of black kits at the moment. Coating on the case is very nice. We've got this weight on the rear that's inspired by the Famicom controller, which is like the OG Japan version of the NES console. These buttons look crazy, like you could actually press them. Sadly, you can't. There's another little switch up here in the corner that allows us to use the buzzer mode or the solenoid mode that has this little mechanism that ticks on key press. Along with the daughter board, there's a lot going on in the top of this board, so they've given us a pin rail and some retro line work to help break up what would otherwise be a massive forehead. That's not funny. This LED indicator panel is completely optional. You can pull this and put keys here instead, but it goes so well with the beige that I'm keeping it in. Oddly, the ribbon cable flips backwards, so you have to twist it. I'm assuming they'll fix this little detail in the final. I will say that whether they get this thing facing the right direction or not in the final, trying to get this ribbon cable inserted when you're running the plateless config is one of the more frustrating things I've ever seen in keyboards. Because the hot swap accommodates so many options, including ISO, I did have a stab location blocked on the inner key with a hot swap socket, so I just desoldered it. I would hope this is addressed in the final version as well, as this is an early prototype. I wanted to go plateless because I've never had a full plateless board before, so I'm just applying gaskets directly to the PCB. For switches today, my guys over at Lubed Switches got me fixed up with some Cherry Hyperglide MX Blacks. These have been broken in, lubed, filmed, and spring swapped to 62-gram TX springs. They did these very right and saved me a ton of time. Very thankful for that. There is a code down in the description that gets me nothing but gets you 10% off your order over there. Studio is running their own retro beige keycaps, but I wasn't able to get a set, so the lovely folks at Canon Keys sent over a set of their new retro beige die-sub PBT with red Cyrillic legends. These kits run $64.99, have very generous layout compatibility, are nice and thick, and have really clean legends. I also picked up the ZMKC Pocket Game Console Artisan from Drop that makes the perfect little finishing touch for this build. The only foams I'm going to use today are the battery compartment blocker and the thin lowercase foam. All right, so takeaways for sound. The buzzer might be the most annoying thing I've ever heard a keyboard do, period. The solenoid's actually pretty funny, but really these strike me as gimmicks. This is something you're gonna take this board off the shelf or take this to a meet for your other keyboard friends to ooh and ah over. Probably not something that you're gonna run every day. Solenoid maybe, if you're alone. It's kind of fun. But in regular typing mode, I'm just not really blown away with the sound. It's a lot more soft and muted than I had anticipated. The typing feel is really nice. You get both flex and bounce. So I decided I definitely wanted to try the FR4 plate in the top mount config. I removed the gaskets from the bottom of the PCB so it's not making contact with the lower case, but I did leave it in the top. It creates kind of like an isolated top mount, which I really like. I definitely wish that they had included more gaskets. Hopefully they do in the final, because if you're gonna experiment, you're gonna put these on and take them off, it's kind of hard to rescue and reuse these. Another issue I had was that the plate was really tight on the stabilizers. I had to force them over the Stabies, which caused issues with both the spacebar and the inner key. It was too tight for OWL stabs as well. They barely fit over GAT inks and Duroc V2s, and I still had some issues with the enter not returning properly. They should really open these up on the final version. So I like the sound of the top mount much better, and I'm not getting a lot of hollowness here. I can't imagine packing this board full of foams and going for that PE marbly sound. You could if you want to. Even though you lose the flex and it becomes a much stiffer typing experience, the sound is right where I would want it to be for a board that looks like this. Another alternative would be to use some crazy loud switches like some Zakus in the plateless config. Obviously, this being a prototype, it is a little rough around the edges in terms of details like the ribbon cable, the hot swap socket, the stab openings on the plate, but this is one of those boards with such a polarizing look that it either does nothing for you or you immediately fall in love with the retro aesthetic, so I really hope they get some of these details ironed out in the final. While I was checking out the group buy page, I noticed that they've also now added this metallic case badge that you can stick anywhere you want on this keyboard. This wasn't included in the original prototypes, but it will be in the finals. Really drives home that retro look. Now, if you really love this look, but the price or the wait time is too much to handle, I found this really fun little 65% board from Vortex. This is all plastic, it has Bluetooth and a pin rail, and it includes switches and caps for $115 over at mechanicalkeyboards.com. And it sounds surprisingly nice, bone stock, right out of the box. This is an all-plastic build, so the only knock is that the case doesn't feel as substantial, but it has internal sound dampening, it's hot swap, and it includes some accent keycaps in that classic 9009 colorway. This is a really fun little board, and surprisingly, pre-builds have come really far these days. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. And if you want to see someone provide some very valuable insight on a very real retro setup, you should check out What is Code by Daniel Schiffman over on Nebula Classes. Daniel walks you through the fundamentals of coding in BASIC using his childhood Apple II computer. He'll break down the logic behind coding, discuss the different languages, introduce you to variables, conditionals, loops, and arrays, and help you put it all together. If you've ever been curious about coding but just found it too intimidating, Daniel breaks this down into a very accessible class. And that's just a small taste of what's on offer over at Nebula. Not only can you watch ad-free versions and behind-the-scenes content from some of your favorite content creators, but now with Nebula Classes, you can gain a ton of new skills both inside and outside the world of content creation. Stuff like persuasive communication with Sam from Wendover, how to be yourself on camera with Luria Petrucci, and Business 101 for Creators with Thomas Frank. New classes drop every week, led by experts in their field, and classes and all the original content on Nebula is only $150 per year. But if you visit nebulaclasses.com/badseed, you can sign up for the annual plan for only $119 a year. And if you're already a Nebula subscriber, upgrading to Classes is only $99. Big thanks to Nebula Classes for sponsoring today's video, and thank you so much for your time. Got some big videos coming in October. I'm finally knocking out some highly requested videos, and I'll be unveiling some pretty exciting stuff that's going on behind the scenes at the channel, so stay tuned for that. That's it for today, and I will catch you all in the next one. Stay up.